Final hour OverDrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line of the final score. Bryan Hayes, Jonas Siegel of The Athletic, Michael DiStefano, a.k.a. Al's brother. Leafs Flyers tonight. Tiger Woods wrapped up his first round at the Genesis Invitational, 1 over par. He had a brutal shank on 18, like really violent. There it is up on TSN 2.
Oh.
Like, that's horrendous.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. And the shot tracker, which makes it even more embarrassing. And we always talk about Tiger, like when he has a bad round, he comes up with some sort of reasoning.
And the ass grab.
Right. I guess he was just speaking with the media. Do we have the audio of him? So here's Tiger had to come up with something because that's really embarrassing.
That's tough.
And here's what Tiger had to say about that shank on 18.
Tiger, I'm not going to say the word, but on 18.
Oh, I shanked it.
What happened there, and is that still a shock to the system for you when that happens?
Well, my back was spasming in the last couple holes, and it was locking up. So I came down, and it didn't move. And I presented Hosel first and shanked it.
Oh.
So it was the back. It wasn't the club. It wasn't the fact that he's ice
the
cold.
stretch.
Yeah, he put a little
stretch
in
there.
That is Tiger
man.
in a nutshell. Why'd you shank that ball in 18? Well, it was back spasms.
Yeah.
It wasn't like because I'm not prepared to play or, I'm rusty.
Back spasms.
Back spasms. I got to use that. Whenever I'm awful out there.
Whenever you miss a putt,
back spasms.
seized up a little bit.
That is a Tiger Woods ism in a nutshell.
Well, it's funny because he said the last couple of holes, he birdied 17.
Right. No back issues there.
No,
no
just
back
18.
issues. On 17, the back, it cleared out. But then on 18, on his approach shot, because he hit a bomb off the tee. Back was fine off the tee. Spasms right before he shanks a ball.
Oh, Tiger.
All right, more on that later this hour. Leafs Flyers tonight. You can watch it on TSN. You can hear it on TSN Radio. Let's head down to the rink. Here's our good buddies, Joe Bowen and Jim Ralph. Gentlemen, how we feeling?
Well, other than the bad back, everything's pretty good, Hazy.
It's a great excuse, isn't it, Ralphie? It's the best.
Yeah, I usually use the wind, but I'm going to go with the back next year.
Yeah, no, I'd do that. I've seen you. Yeah,
exactly.
I think that'd be an excellent change in how you describe it. Yes.
Absolutely. So how are we feeling about the game tonight? I mean, you guys were down there the other night. I was listening to you on the way home, and you guys were talking about how well they played in the first period. I think, Ralphie, you said you thought it was the best first period they played all year.
Yeah, but although in fairness, my back was bugging me when I said yeah, I just thought that they came out with some purpose. They were good getting in the forecheck, and Jordan Binnington really stops 2 breakaways. Made a great save off Max Domi. I mean, this could have been a 5-6-1 game for the Leafs. So it was nice to see them come out with one of those games where fear went to your legs instead of paralyzing you. And I thought that's what they did. They didn't want to be embarrassed. They knew who was out of the lineup and played accordingly.
And the best thing was that they played really, really well in their own end of the building. Mm-hmm. And there was maybe one flurry that the Blues had that you would say that they were kind of hemmed in a little bit. But other than that, I mean, you
15
limit
shots,
15 shots. You should win the hockey game if you're going to be able to play that well in your own end.
Well, exactly, and I guess you just hope that carries over tonight because you got a similar opponent in terms of Philly, like not chock full of superstars and uber talent. You just know they're going to try to play physically in a system, and Tortorella's going to be all over them. Yet, Marner's back, Tavares is back. Sounds like everyone's feeling a bit better. What are you? I guess we'll start with you, Bonesy. What do you expect tonight?
Well, they better be prepared because they're a couple of points in arrears of where Philadelphia is in the standings. And the standings right now are a great motivator, or should be a great motivator. So I think that they should, continue the way that they came out the other night and maybe take advantage of their power play. They're going to have to be rather cautious when they are on the power play because this team has scored 12 shorthanded goals this year to lead the National Hockey League. So they have to be looking to make sure that all of the details are looked after. And if they do, they should be able to beat a Philadelphia team that is, up and down a little bit. They lost 5 in a row. Now they've won 4 in a row. So they're sort of like the toilet seat at the Stag and Doe.
Oh man, that's my favorite Bonesyism. That's my favorite one.
The good
I'll
one.
tell you.
Well, go ahead and Google what is a
that
stag
means.
and doe.
I'm
None of
old
these
enough.
guys ever had one of those.
No, I did.
Did you?
I'm married. I know where it's at. I know what's going
but
on.
you usually just have the stag.
Well, that's true. I guess.
Not today. I feel like
That's
everyone's
right.
doing the stag and does.
Yeah, it's a combination of both.
Yeah, all right.
Let's get this back on the rails, boys. Jim,
Jonas.
hi. What's your?
He waved, Jonas.
he? Oh, that's
waved.
nice.
Yeah,
I'll see
he's
you
a nice
soon.
fellow. Yeah.
What is your confidence level right now in Samsonov? It probably would have been a lot lower a few weeks ago. Where is it at now? And I don't know, do it out of 10.
Well, I mean, the 3 games before the All-Star break might have been his 3 best games in the Leaf uniform. I mean, the back-to-back with Winnipeg, they don't win the game in Seattle on the Sunday night either. So it was great then, and then you thought there was kind of a little bit of a step back when, in the loss to the Islanders. Had some goals against Dallas where you said, gee, that looks a little more like November Sammy than it did late January Sammy. But I think what the Leafs really had to give their goaltenders a game or two where they didn't have to be the first star of a game to be a difference maker. And I like the fact that there was just nothing leaky in the game against St. Louis a couple of nights ago, because that's one of those games, as much as the Leafs are outplaying and outshooting the opposition, it's 2-1 into the third period. So you can't afford, even though the Leafs were good defensively, you can't afford that wrist shot from the blue line to go in, or the one from below the goal line banks in and finds the back of the net. So, you can't control how much work you get, but some games you just want your goaltender not to give up the bad one at the wrong time. And that's what I liked about his game a couple of nights ago against St. Louis.
Well, I'm curious what you guys think about, when Joe Woll comes back, because it sounds like he's, getting better and better and almost ready to go. When he returns, has Samsonov done enough to establish himself or reestablish himself as like the 1A in this tandem, or do you think when Joe Woll comes back, he's kind of back to being a dude?
I think Wall's got to get a chance to play, and I think that has to be immediately upon their assessment that he's ready to go. And then you hope that you have a really nice combative situation with both of them. And because there was no question Woll was playing superbly before he got hurt. Yeah. And I think that, and it's funny because Jimmy and I will sit here, and if Samsonov is just a little bit leaky on a shot or something, we both turn and look at each other, and we go, oh no. All right, okay, let's hope he gets back, though. And he has, and he has recently and whatnot. Because when you do lose it, it is tough to get it back. But he looks like he has battled through it mentally, and right now he's tracking the puck much better, and he's not all over the net. But I think Joe Woll's got to get a chance, because I really think this kid is going to be the goaltender of the future, and he may be the goaltender of the present.
I mean, I think the bottom line is where they are. I mean, right now in a wild card spot, the goaltenders are going to dictate who plays the most. This is going to be, to me, a pretty easy decision for Sheldon Keefe. Somebody gets on a roll, you got to keep with them until, hopefully you secure a playoff spot.
With Joe Bowen, Jim Ralph, Leafs Flyers tonight on TSN 1050. You guys have seen every game. You've been up close and personal. Tyler Bertuzzi the other night, it's wild. Like, this guy cannot catch a break.
Yeah, it's like he's putting it in, and it's just like going wide.
Right. It's like the hole is shrinking every single time he's trying to roll a putt. It's wild. He cannot score. Have you seen anything recently that would indicate once the levee breaks that it could really break and this guy could really get going offensively?
Well, if you're not getting chances, then you're not going to score. And he's getting plenty of them. And I think that the work ethic and everything else is there. He's going to the front of the net. And when it does break, I'm sure we're going to see it go straight to his legs and his hands and get off. I chatted with him a little bit before the game the other night. I just said, would you try to throw one into the back of the net that actually counts.
Yeah, he has had two that have been called back.
Yeah, been called back. Yeah. So you're on a slump in a lot of ways when the league's taking the goals away from you when you actually do score. So I think that it will. But the other night they had him playing with Max Domi, and that line, even though it was McMahon who got all of the accolades with the hat trick, that line was the best line the league's put on the ice, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And yet they're going to break it up tonight, naturally, I guess, because Tavares and Marner are back. But, Ralphie, we've had that conversation, countless times on this show over the course of the year. And, Sheldon Keefe's got a reputation of being a blender-type coach, yet he really doesn't do that with his four best forwards. If they're playing, it's some combination of Matthews with Marner or Nylander and Tavares with Marner or Nylander.
I think the accountant has something.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I mean, and we brought this up. I know, when Dallas was in. When you look at the fourth line of the Dallas Stars, they average more ice time than the third line of the Leafs. And so not only are the top four together, but that's where all the minutes are gone. And, it was one of those games 2 nights ago where you test the two theories. Coach says play better and you get more ice time, and the guy says give me more ice time and I'll be better. And he had to go with the ice time theory 2 nights ago, and it paid off. So it'll be interesting to see if that changes how the lines are going to be rolled tonight, whether it's Domi or McMahon or Noah Gregor or Bertuzzi. Somebody has earned a few more minutes of ice time based on what we saw a couple of nights ago.
Well, I think that's the thing. You look at how well those guys played when they finally got that ice time, and Mitch Marner and John Tavares are going to get reinserted back into the lineup tonight. I mean, what's the expectation for them? And, is there pressure on these guys to make sure that they play kind of mistake-free and simple, fundamental hockey similar to the way that the team played the other night?
No, I think it's the opposite. I think now you've got to go out and do more than just say play even and just look after our own end. Get pucks deep and throw the puck to the net and start to contribute offensively. I mean, that's been the kind of the storyline this year, is not getting the secondary scoring. So I think, Mikey, now you've sort of stepped up the expectation where it's, yes, we always expect players to be responsible defensively in their own end, but now we want to see more the other way. We want to see you chip in offensively and do what you did. I
think we're also going to see that these guys who are coming back into the lineup for the first time since the Morgan Riley incident, we certainly hope that they're motivated to be better because of the Riley situation. And I think under those circumstances, I think we should see a couple of motivated guys getting back into the lineup here.
Guys, we were having a big debate before you came on about what the Leafs should do at the deadline. I won't get into it again with Hayes. We disagree a little bit. But what do you think? Do you think that they should be aggressive? Do you think they should just kind of lie in the weeds? What do you think they should do?
I would say next to nothing. If you're going to
add Your team Hayes. I don't ever want to talk to you.
Add a depth piece. Well, let's do it. Let's look at it this way. Go through the last few Stanley Cup winners, the last 10 years. Look what they did around the deadline.
Stuff.
And I mean, you can throw in, like Florida last year. I mean, they were just trying to get in. They didn't make any big move.
I don't think they made one at the deadline. I remember that being a storyline last year.
What was the big line for Florida?
Wow, and what did Vegas do? Vegas won, and I recall them doing things. But anyway, continue.
That's right. They got Barbashev, that blockbuster deal with St. Louis.
They also traded for Jack Eichel one time. But anyway.
2 years ago.
Oh, they traded for him the year before that.
And they also traded for Aiden Hill, but that doesn't matter.
You pissed off Jonas, Ralphie. You pissed off Jonas. Keep your head up down there.
God, we'd hate to do that.
So Jonas, you're thinking try to get back Ryan O'Reilly, Luke Shen, Nola Chari.
Try to get good players, better players.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think when, that's right. You know what? I'm going to change my mind. Jonas is right, because I remember Boston did that last year at the deadline. They made a lot of the first place team in the league. They got even better for the playoffs.
Yeah. How'd that work out?
Oh, boy.
Sorry, Jonas.
Why even compete?
You knew I wasn't going to jump.
Just pack it in the season.
But that's no. Hold on though. That is not what I was saying. That's not. I don't believe what Ralphie's saying. No one's saying punt or quit on the season.
But you said this team isn't good enough. So
I don't think they necessarily are. But maybe they can. Like this time last year, I probably would have said that about Florida. And whatever they're going to do in the playoffs, it's already on this team. Like, what's going to happen is Joseph Woll is going to stand on his head like Bobrovsky did last year, or close to it.
You think Simon Benoit can play 22 minutes a game in the playoffs?
Ideally, he doesn't.
He is right now.
But at some point, you need to replenish your system. At some point, you need to realize you can't just give away everything every single year. Like, you can't be careless all the time. And they've done the all-in before, and it hasn't worked for them.
So just do nothing.
Go back to
add
Florida.
a piece or two that is not worth like multiple firsts or Easton Cowan or whatever.
Exactly.
And put the pressure on the guys in the room, Ralphie Bonesy. That's where I stand.
And it becomes a rallying cry as well.
No.
Here you are.
Don't do
You're
that.
the group. You're the guys doing it. Well,
I hate that.
Jonas, the nice thing is there's an opening in Columbus. And if you
Can I apply?
you get down there, you can do this for real.
But then I wouldn't get to see you guys, hear your call.
Oh, it'd be a wonderful position. And I think it'd be just terrific.
Will you guys come too?
No.
Oh.
I hate that cannon.
Yeah,
I agree.
I'd be the third goalie, but I want the league average, and I don't want to play.
Bad.
I don't think there'd be any question about that. But get 2 commas.
I don't think I'll get the league average.
With Jonas, you never know. He can be a tough negotiator, right?
Oh well, we're not counting on that if he's getting the league average.
Very true. Anyway, boys, we'll catch you on the call tonight. Thank you for doing this.
You bet.
Thanks, boys.
There it is, Joe Bowen, Jim Ralph. You weren't expecting them to side
No,
with
I
the
feel
idea.
better about it now.
Yeah.
You brought like Florida last year. I completely forgot, but like they did nothing.
Literally not one
Legitimately
trade.
Nothing at the deadline. But the year prior, they went all in. Right? They brought in Sherratt, they brought in Giroux, and it did not work. Leafs are in a similar situation where last year they went all in, and they're on a team on the outside looking in, hover on a playoff spot. We'll see what they end up doing, but it's a similar parallel.
And the reasoning behind a lot of that in Florida last year was the GM was like,
We gave it all up last year.
A, we gave it up all last
Now
year.
you gotta
B,
see.
what have you guys done for me this year that has suggested I should walk in there and say, here's all these different pieces?
Yeah.
Like, how can I justify all that because I'm in a Barkov window? Because Ekblad's been there and it's a window? Because we've never won a cup in Florida, which they haven't? Like, those are always the arguments with the Leafs. It's like, well, Matthews, what about, and it's been 57. So, like, and again, it doesn't, I never suggested punt.
That's the implication.
No, it's not. The implication is that
You sit out the deadline, you're basically saying, well, we don't think we're good
again,
enough. We're not
I would be willing to make a Luke Shen type maneuver. 3rd round pick for a depth, good
then
defenseman.
you may as well not do anything.
He was, I thought, their best acquisition last year.
He was good.
How good was Luke Shen?
He was very
great.
Phenomenal.
He was great.
But that's the point. Like the big splash. Who knows if Hannafin? Let's say it's Hannafin. Who knows if he even fits in properly? Maybe he doesn't. Right? Like maybe there is a guy.
But that's sports. Like, you have to try and see what happens.
Okay.
I've got one. I got a little depth player. I've been, looking at these trade bait boards that are coming out. How do you like Alex Carrier?
Too small.
Too small?
They don't
like
need
him as a
more
little depth
small.
guy though.
Well, it's not like Hannafin.
But he doesn't play-
like
He's
Scott
6'3",
Stevens type.
210.
Yeah, but he doesn't play like a monster.
Yeah, but that's not a good comparison. He plays in all situations.
I like Hannafin.
He's a
Don't get me
good
wrong.
player.
I'm a fan. I think he'd
Too
be a big
small.
benefit. He'd be a good player here.
They need like someone who can actually play in their top 4.
Yes, they do.
he's
No,
not that
I'd
guy.
say that guy's the depth. Like you saying, you make a small
But Luke
trade.
Shen was that.
That
Luke
was
Shen
a
was.
depth
It
piece.
was him and Morgan Riley every night. That was their best pair.
Sure.
By a
Yeah.
substantial
Well, they had a
margin.
McCabe who they put in their top 4.
But
That
I'm
was
saying
their
last
bigger
year when
update.
they beat Tampa, the best pairing
Yeah,
by a
hands
mile
down, hands
was
down.
Riley and Luke Shen.
Hands
by a mile.
Yeah.
And again, Luke was just that was a nibble around the edges.
3rd round
Fine,
pick.
we've gone this far. We'll get him for a 3rd, and he had the most impact.
If you had a do-over and you could go back, you're the GM, and you can just pay up for Shen, would you have done it? Like, he got 3 years, 275. I believe he's 34.
He's been injured a lot this year. I don't know.
Probably not, right?
Yeah, it's. I mean, that was rich. Good for him, right? He can this guy was basically out of the league like a
He was
year or
literally
two
out of
ago.
the league, yeah.
Literally out of the league. I wish they could have found a way to keep him. That would have been
he
great.
wanted to stay.
No, I know.
It's
but
just money.
that's the thing. 3 years at a decent clip that's expensive.
I think if he
That
would have
said, you
taken
gave Klingberg $4 million. So
That's-
but
the
1
problem.
year,
Yeah.
1 year. So if he would have taken a 1 year deal, and maybe the Toronto would have considered that. but they needed to have that flexibility moving forward.
In retrospect, I would have given him $4 million for 1 year over Klingberg.
Well,
Yeah.
Like if he was willing to accept a $4 million deal 1 year.
Doesn't that feel like forever ago that he played for the team?
Klingberg?
Yeah, it feels like
Yeah,
that
I
was
know.
5 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was here and then he wasn't. And one day he's going to become one of the Name That Leaf players. And we'll talk about, Klingberg. Remember
Yeah, Johnny Klingberg.
that disaster?
Someone's
in
got a
Toronto?
Klingberg jersey in Toronto. Someone's
Do you think
out
so?
there that has it. Yes.
I think it's possible that's not true.
That guy was on the
Yeah.
first unit power play to start the year.
Yep.
Well, that
Top
was the
four.
whole anticipation. A big bounce back to his Dallas days. Forget what happened in Anaheim. Doesn't count.
Or Minnesota.
Or Minnesota doesn't count.
Really tough.
Yeah.
That was a big
Listen,
whiff.
I'm not predicting what they're going to do. I think there's a good chance, you're right, Jonas, that they do end up going all in or as close to it as you possibly can.
The problem with that is like they just don't have a lot to go all in with, which is part of your point.
Yeah.
There's not that much to trade.
Well, that's why it's do you go half in just because it's all you can afford? Like if you can only afford to get a Tanev or a Hannafin and they got no more prospects for anything else, does that get you to where you need to go? And if that's the case, what's the point?
Well, and again, as I was talking about this with Feschuk, and he brings up the point that I think I would concede, I think everyone would, is the guy that's going to make this call is Brendan Shanahan.
Danny. Yeah.
Shanahan is the guy that's going to make the call. And if
Clock's ticking on him.
as it should be, considering he's been here this long, and there's another president and CEO coming in of Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment. I don't know how Keith Pelly's going to approach this, but if he approaches it anyway, anything close to the way Tim Leiweke did, who ironically enough was the guy that brought in Shanahan. If I'm Shanahan, I'm curious. Like, what does that mean? What does that mean for my future? How is he going to evaluate things? But at the same time, like Shanahan has always been very composed, uber patient. I don't think he would be a guy that would make drastic moves because he would be fearful. Like if we don't win something this year, I'm in trouble. I don't get the impression he'd operate that way. If anything, he's gone over the top to just continue to double down and triple down on his philosophies and his belief that these guys will get it done. But he,
moved on from Dubas. He had so much belief. It sounded as though Dubas wanted to make some changes, right? Based on his end of year presser, sounded like he was softening on the we can and we will. And that's when things kind of went south and they decided to move on from Dubas and bring in Tree. So you got to think that Shanahan still has to believe in this core.
Yeah.
Or else that whole charade in the summer would have been for nothing.
Well, look what he's done since Dubas left. He signed Matthews and he signed William Nylander. Like Matthews was a foregone conclusion. If he was willing to stay, they were going to sign him.
Yeah.
Willie was not. And not only did they panicked, they basically were like, they like in a desperate manner signed him. And they got it done. And that's them, doubling down, tripling down, quadrupling down. I don't even know where we're at now.
Keep splitting the aces.
Basically.
Yeah.
So that's a good move, by the way.
Yeah.
You split aces on the cruise?
You split aces on everything. Aces and eights, always split, my friend.
Aces and eights.
Aces and eights, always split.
Okay. All right.
Every time.
All right. Well, Jonas, we'll see. It's a curious poll question, like how Leaf fans would. I don't know where they would be.
Yeah.
Probably
I think
split like everything else.
probably split.
Honestly,
Probably 50-50.
I
Would say
wouldn't-
go all in or just like stand pat.
changes day by day.
How I
After
would
Ottawa,
describe
I bet you would have more stand pat. After St. Louis, probably a little bit more thinking, let's move.
Mm-hmm. Well, we got 3 weeks till they got to make a call.
Yeah.
3 weeks tomorrow.
Coming up quick.
So something's going to give here at some point. Tiger made his return. We'll get into it. We'll tell you what happened to him today, what he had to say about a certain shot in particular on 18. We'll get back into that audio. OverDrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. Mark Schlabach will join us of ESPN here in just a moment. Live from Riviera out in L.A. Tiger Woods making his return to the PGA Tour. He shot one over today, bogeyed 18. He shanked his second shot like violent.
Yeah, it was tough.
Like
Awful.
really, really awful. Like he'd pay a lot of money to have that completely wiped off the internet, right?
We're looking at it now on TSN 2.
Oh, the tracer, man. The tracer, when you've got a tracer going right at a tree
That's not good.
from the fairway, it's really disturbing. And, it was an ugly end. I'm sure he's embarrassed. That's the GOAT we're talking about. And he had to have an explanation. had to have something after the round. So he was asked about it, and here's what he said.
Tiger, I'm not going to say the word, but on 18.
Oh, I shanked it.
What happened there, and is that still a shock to the system for you when that happens?
Well, my back was spasming in the last couple holes, and it was locking up. So I came down, and it didn't move. And I presented hosel first, and shanked it.
Al's brother, your keen eye picked up on the back stretch.
I love the stretches. My back,
Hold on
seized
before
up
I
for a
answer that. I
second.
really need to stretch the back out.
That's
It would
a
be
new
like
one.
after tonight, let's say like Marner, Tavares were sick. They didn't play good. And they're like, just 1 sec.
Yeah, exactly.
Just
Still got the
feeling
sniffles,
Yeah,
didn't have it
I
tonight.
battled tonight, but oh man, well, I was brutal. I know, but what do you want out of me? It was
I'm no Jordan.
battling an illness here.
Wow.
I just can't.
I have a question for you
Can't
guys
get over
though, that
that.
I was thinking. What is the worst end of career that you've watched? Like a star at the end where they're not really the star anymore? Like who comes to mind? Like I think of like Peyton Manning at the end.
That was the first
tough.
one.
Really
Kobe
tough
at the end wasn't Kobe anymore. Jordan was still kind of Jordan-y.
Yeah, I mean, Kobe had his final game, remember, where
He
he
had a
put up
million
like
points.
60 or something.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was wide. He was
Oh, he
jacking
shot the
shots
ball like
from
40
everywhere.
times.
But it was really
We're watching
cool.
that
Like
game, yeah.
that was at Staples or Crypto.com. For me,
Favre?
it's Brett Favre.
Yeah, that was
It's
tough.
Favre because that was I love Brett Favre, my favorite football player as a Packer fan. And to watch him lose his streak, he had played like 303 straight starts or something like that. And for him to completely fall off and then get injured and miss a game due to injury,
While throwing a pick.
it's like, why are you playing, man? Like,
Yeah.
why didn't you just stop playing? Like, why'd you have to keep playing?
Yeah.
You know, and after the 2009 season where he was in Minnesota in the championship game against the Saints, remember they had that
Should
game.
have been it.
And he threw
was
that
a-
pick.
Wasn't that like a 56-4? Like that was a high scoring.
It was.
Game, wasn't it?
And I want to say it was an overtime. He threw a pick that
I think so.
I think led to a pick six and ended the game. Or close to it anyway. And then
He
he
went to
came
the-
back again.
Went to the Jets.
No, he went to the Jets first and then Minnesota. He went from
Right.
Packers, Jets, Minnesota. And his first year in Minnesota, they went to the championship game. He was great. And then he tried to come back again, and his body just was a mess. And he'd never missed a start. He had the Ironman streak, and he had to come out, and it was brutal. And it's
think
like,
it was-
why'd you do that, man? Why'd you keep playing?
I think it was his last. It was against the Bills, if I recall. Last game against the Bills. Last pass of his career was an interception.
Well, it's probably fitting for the gunslinger. But
Well, because I remember actually, you're right. It did end on a pick six. Because I remember the conversation being like, "Oh, how tough Favre's career is going to end on an interception, a pick six."
Right.
And then he came back the next year. I remember it being funny how it still ended on an interception
Yeah.
despite coming back.
I know he threw across his body. I remember that game like vividly. I'm pretty sure it was at the Superdome in New Orleans. But they had that game, like Minnesota had it, to go to the Super Bowl. Didn't happen. So that would be up
That's
there.
another one. Drew Brees at the end was like,
Drew
oh my
Brees.
God, this
Couldn't
is
see him
tough.
throw. Like Peyton
He
won a
literally
Super
couldn't
Bowl,
throw.
though,
He
but
did.
could not throw the ball.
Yeah, it was nuts.
Like, remember, he had been replaced by multiple guys that year. They went to the
Brock
bench.
Osweiler.
Oh yeah, he was
Brock
getting all these
Osweiler.
procedures done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was throwing ducks 15 yards down the field. He couldn't do it.
Yeah, that was a pure defensive effort to win that Super Bowl.
Incredible. Had to go through Brady, too. Like,
Gretzky's goal scoring dropped off that final year.
9 goals in the end.
Yeah.
Phil Kessel. Could Phil be one of those guys if he gets back in and seeing Phil?
Is he okay with the Iron Man streak coming to an end, by the way? I don't feel like that's being talked about a whole lot, but if he goes to Vancouver, there's no shot that he plays every night.
He's not playing every night.
He's okay with that?
I
guess.
guess.
he'd have
I
to
mean, he's
be.
established it, right? Once you get to a point where you've got it.
Right.
Although, did Keith Yandel pass him or no? He passed
No, he
Yandel.
passed Yandel
Yeah.
because Yandel,
Yandel
was-
got pulled out.
and it was a story. Like, I remember that being an issue for
Right.
him that final year.
But he's going to know that in Vancouver. Like Rick Tocchet, they're all going to be clear. You're not playing every night. We don't have to have you here. We're willing to. I don't even know if they're going to sign him. Like
Probably will. No,
I think so.
I go to all this trouble.
I
Yeah.
don't know because they, Jim Rutherford won cups with him in Pitt. Tocchet won cups. Come on in. What do they need Phil for in Vancouver? Has anyone answered that question?
It's a good question.
Well,
What do you need Phil Kessel for?
they've moved on from Kuzmenko. They've moved on from Beauvillier. They could maybe use like another sniper, like another, just a extra depth scoring, I think is really it. So if you need to bring him in, an injury or two occurs, you got someone who could be, play your second unit power play. It's just depth. Ultimately, is
of
what he
course
would
it
be.
is.
And that's what it was last year for Vegas.
Yeah.
He was just depth. If something happened, Phil could slide in.
Sure. I hope it happens. I want to see Phil back.
Yeah.
I think it'd be great. But we'll see.
We will see.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, we're having trouble getting Mark on the line, but Tiger won over today. The leaders, last time I checked, Cantlay was 7 under. He's finished his round. Again, this is one of those elevated events where there's 70 players in it. Top 50 plus ties make the cut, or if you're within 10 shots of the lead, you make the cut. So as of now, Tiger Woods would be T53, and he's 8 shots off the lead. He would technically make the cut if he's within 10 tomorrow or T50.
His back's already
That's the
seizing up
question.
on him.
That's the
What's
question.
tomorrow going to look like?
Back spasms the last 3 holes. Where's he at tomorrow? He went off early today. He goes off in the afternoon tomorrow. Maybe that benefits him. I'm not sure. But
he'll be in an ice bath all night long.
yeah, I mean, this is what we're going to get. Like Tiger, he's not crisp. He's 48. He barely plays. His body's failing him. These guys are the best players in the world on a really tough track.
Do you think it gets to a point like now he's still moving the needle? I saw a story on ESPN earlier. Like Vegas said that the amount of money that came in on Riv this weekend because Tiger's in it has just skyrocketed compared to what it's been like recently. Like he's moving the needle and people are betting on this guy. I think 8% of all wagers have come in on Tiger alone.
Yeah. Even knowing he's not going to win.
Right.
It's like, I have to do it.
Right. Just in case. Like he's like 150 to 1. So
Yeah.
like the odds
There's
are
no chance he's
tremendous. But, is there going to become a time where it's like sad?
That's the question.
exactly it.
Become kind of
Yeah.
apathetic to Tiger?
It's a good question. Like, and I hope we're not there yet, but we could be. It could be to a point, because that is an existential question with golf right now. I think he's more important than ever because of Live and the Splinter. Like, you need him, you need buzz, you want him playing.
How far can you ride that?
But that's the thing. At what point do you realize, like, it's just not going to happen again?
Yeah.
You can't do it. Like, it'll be great to see him at the majors, but you can't rely on him at the Genesis or at the Players. So you got to promote Scheffler as much as you can, and McIlroy and Thomas and other guys. I don't know. I mean, the fact is he's bigger than life. Wherever he is, he's going to garner so much attention. Like, you can never get away from his legendary status. He is who he is.
Right.
But the idea of building him up like he could win, that might have to come to an end.
And especially every time he goes out there, it's just not working for him, and he always comes up with an excuse. Today it's the back, it's been a glute, it's been a
the glutes weren't firing.
He's gonna have a hip issue next time. Like,
I know.
tough.
All right, we'll head down there next and get an update from Mark and tee up the game one more time. You're heading down there, Jonas?
I am, yeah.
Good seeing you, buddy.
Thanks, boys.
And we'll catch your piece tomorrow. What are you writing about tomorrow?
Hannafin.
Noah Hannafin.
Noah Hannafin.
All right.
All right. I have a feeling I know where this one's going. Are you supportive? Read tomorrow in The Athletic?
We'll see.
All right.
We'll chat then.
We'll chat then.
We'll
There's
read
Jonas
then.
Siegel of The Athletic. Mark Schlabach coming up from the Genesis in L.A. OverDrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, Tiger Woods has played 18 holes at the Genesis Invitational, ends up shooting 1 over. Justin Thomas, who was out there with JT, shot 1 over as well. Tiger had a shank on 18 that will not be forgotten anytime soon, and then citing back spasms right afterwards. Let's head down to Riviera. Here is ESPN Golf reporter Mark Schlabach. How you doing, Mark?
Guys, good. How are you?
We're doing well. What do you make of Tiger's description of the shank on 18 and citing back spasms the final few holes?
I was standing right there. I walked the last 5 or 6 holes with him. He hit it dead straight into a eucalyptus tree. He said he said his back locked up. It didn't turn. The hosel went first and the ball rocketed right, which I've experienced far more times than he has in my life. But, it was a terrible shot, but I give him a heck of a lot of credit for recovering and hitting the ball onto the green from about 120 out. He had the same club. It was an 8-iron. And I had like a foot burner up there, kept it low and got it bounced up on the green. So, disappointing finish for sure. Bogey that left him at 1 over, and he's got some work to do on Friday if he's going to be around here for the weekend.
Well, this is the thing with Tiger. Like, we talk about him all the time. You know, he comes into each tournament and says he wouldn't be there if he didn't think he could win. And then if he doesn't win, or when he hasn't won, he'll cite, well, I'm rusty and it's tough for me to be sharp. Like, it's difficult to figure out how we should feel about all this, Mark. Like, where's your head at when you see how he played today, and, you know, what the expectations maybe should be for tomorrow?
You know, I think if you're a Tiger Woods fan, I think you just got to appreciate the fact he's out here, and that it's kind of a medical miracle that he's out here, knowing that some of the problems have been self-inflicted over the years. But, you know, I was with him at the Bahamas at the Hero World Challenge, and it was kind of the same thing. I mean, he's still limping. He can't roll his right foot. He can barely turn it because the foot is fused to the ankle. He's got pain in his right leg from the car wreck. And then, you know, most of us forget he's got a bunch of vertebrae that are fused in his back.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a struggle, and he can't get in the reps at home. I mean, nobody grinded like he did. And I think the lack of reps and the lack of practice, I mean, he was talking about today, he could never adjust to how fast the greens were. And he's played out here 17 or 18 times. But he said, I just haven't played enough to be able to make adjustments on the fly.
Well, I'm curious to get your thoughts on this, Mark, because we were talking about it in the last segment here. And just, you know, how long do you think, you know, the tour can kind of milk this Tiger mania? Like, at some point, do you see people maybe becoming apathetic to him if this is just the way that he continues to play and continues to get hurt?
I mean, other than maybe Rory, he's the only guy that moves the needle.
Yeah.
Like Tiger does. And I mean, I was out there walking with him today. You know, it was a Thursday in Los Angeles, so the crowds weren't huge, but the most of them were walking with Tiger. And, you know, look, Victor Hovland's a fantastic golfer, one of the best players in the world. John Rahm's one of the best players in the world. Scotty Scheffler's world number one, has won a major. Nobody moves the needle like Tiger does, and it's a big problem for the PGA Tour because they need guys with huge personalities to step up and dominate the sport. You know, big names, and it's just is what it is. But to answer your question, they're going to milk it forever. How long they can.
With Mark Schlabach of ESPN, do you think it could get to a point with everything you just said there, which is wild with this live golf stuff, you know, that's been at the forefront for a few years now?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think, like, the idea of having live and PGA come back together and have some of those guys, if not all those guys, come back to the PGA Tour, like, is that something that could move the needle? Is that the only possible option outside of Tiger, maybe Rory, is, hey, come watch Koepka play Waste Management again, or come see DJ, or come see Phil. He's going to play at the Arnie Palmer. Like, is that possibly something that could lead to a massive amount of buzz around the tour?
Yeah, no, I've said for a long time, for the last 2 or 3 years, ever since the live golf thing happened, golf's a niche sport. I mean, you look at the television ratings, and, you know, there aren't a lot of eyeballs on it compared to football and Major League Baseball and the NBA and in the States. And, you know, to fracture it and have the best players in the world playing on two different tours is not a good thing. And, you know, these guys are making so much damn money. They're by far the most overpaid athletes in any sport, I think.
Right.
When you compare it to the television ratings and marketing and those sort of things. But, you know, one of the biggest things to me is Liv took all the villains. They took all the bad guys. Like, you know, a lot of people didn't like a lot of those guys that left, but they were a reason you came to a tournament to cheer for your hero and boo against those guys.
Absolutely. Well, we'll see what comes of it throughout the weekend and beyond. Really appreciate the quick update. Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Mark Schlabach of ESPN. That's the truth, is that,
good point.
Well, like, Koepka's interesting, DeChambeau's interesting, even Sergio's interesting, Phil certainly is, DJ, now you got Rahm, Cam Smith. Like, A, you got really good players, but B, you got guys who are kind of hotheads, Tyrrell Hatton's over there, like, just interesting personalities. that are no longer a part of this, where if you look at the genesis with Tiger coming back, although we'd never have like an elevated event if it wasn't for LIV, they would have just kept operating. But all those guys would be there, and it would be totally a different vibe. And as he said, it's like with Tiger, you need him more than ever, probably. You got to milk it every possible chance you can get, regardless of whether or not he can play.
But I
wonder, if he can win. It's just that he's there. That's what moves the needle every single time.
At some point, though, is golf and golf fans, are they going to almost turn? Like, not that I want to bring up a wrestling situation into the show.
Yeah, okay.
But, something that's kind of happening right now in the wrestling world is like The Rock has come back. And people don't like that. And people are turning on him. Now there's storylines and it
Isn't that like a Cody Rhodes thing?
Yeah, right. So it's like the new Young Buck he's taking it. But it's gotten to a point where like the WWE thought that they were doing a good thing by bringing The Rock in. But it got to a point where people are like, no, we want to see the new young blood talent. Like, no longer want to see the old guy who might not be able to get through a match. And I wonder at some point, will golf fans look at Tiger and instead of being excited about it, kind of be thinking it's a little cringe, right?
Well,
he's not anywhere near what he used to be.
I think that's the case for diehard golf fans.
Yeah.
Because as Mark's pointing out, it's incredibly niche. But if you love golf, you love golf. I happen to be one of those guys. I'm watching. If Tiger's there or not, I'm interested. I love the course. I love the clubs. I love, watching guys play. I love the idea of debating who's going to set up well on each course, who's hot at that time, all that kind of stuff. I live in that world. But they already have those guys. They already have those people. Those fans are already there. How do you drag in that extra 10%? It's Tiger. It's not like Tiger represents a rating of 20 million, per round. But if it's an extra 500,000, that's worth a lot of money for TV networks, for sponsors, for endorsements. And I'm sure that's kind of what I would guess the WWE were thinking. It's like, if you have The Rock headlining, he sells.
Right.
And again, I would guess they probably still feel pretty good about that because, yes, the wrestling fans are like, we don't need it, but you're watching anyway. Right. You're not going to not watch WrestleMania because The Rock's in the main event.
Correct.
You're still going to watch.
Correct.
So what they're hoping for is the fan that's like, hey, it's The Rock. I love his movies. I'll go see him fight whoever I don't know who he's even up against. But it is actually a perfect correlation. And I think, again, the PGA Tour, along with the WWE, are like, listen, we'll take the early backlash or the people goofing on it or the diehards saying we don't need this or don't want it because they always take advantage of the diehards.
Ultimately, they're still going to buy the pay-per-view and they're ultimately still going to buy the Golf Channel and they're going to watch.
Still going to show up.
Yeah.
Still going to watch regardless. So they don't, there's no need for that business structure to care about you. We talk about it all the time with teams that, like, if you sell out the building every night, they're like, you're going to be there anyway. Where are you going?
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
I had a hypothetical for you. Green Bay Packers win a Super Bowl or Tiger wins another major?
Packers.
Masters. What if it's the Masters?
Am I at it? Can you put me on the grounds?
You're in both places. You can be there to win the Super Bowl or you can be on location in Augusta.
I'd take the Packers because I'm more of a Packer fan than I'm a Tiger fan. I love the story of Tiger. I've loved his career. I'm incredibly captivated by Tiger. But I felt like I got that in 2019. Like he won the Masters in 19. That was a miraculous comeback.
Yeah.
That I didn't see coming in 2015, 16,
well,
17.
You wouldn't see it in 24, 25, 26 either.
Listen, they'd both be incredible. I would love to see both happen, clearly. But, the Packers are more, it's a build-up, it's a grind. Like the Masters is a weekend. It's not as if you're building up and qualifying for it and you got to beat someone the week before. Like, the nature of football. Like, it was so exciting to see the Packers beat Dallas. Like, that was one of the coolest sporting events I've had in years.
Yeah.
Like, it was just an amazing scene because it was against Dallas, which helped. B, they were so young. They weren't even supposed to make the playoffs. They kind of they ran off 3 straight wins to get in. And it was just amazing. Like, it was an amazing buildup. So I'd go with the Packers. But both, would you take Tiger? I mean, you have no allegiance to Green Bay, although you're not a
Green Bay, but if I took, the thing is, the only reason why I may swayed otherwise is there's a clock on Tiger where you could have a long ways to go for whatever. Like, I'm a Colts fan, right?
Yeah.
So I'll put Indy in that. there's a few more years where the Colts they're around, right?
That's a good
Tiger's
point.
got a clock.
That's a good point, House brother. Like from that standpoint, you can make a compelling case. It is Tiger because you got 2 or 3 years maybe, and then it's not. Where Green Bay, I'll be a fan for life. If it happens in 10 years, 20 years, Leafs is different.
Well, it's been a long time since you've seen a Leafs parade.
That's a little bit different. All right, AB, good stuff. I don't know what's going on tomorrow. I don't know. Is O going to be here?
We'll see if O's around.
Yeah, we don't know. We're not sure. Noodles will be back. Noodles calling a game tonight. But the Leafs are coming up on TSN Radio. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes for helping out. We appreciate it, as always. Everyone for tuning in today, radio, TV, podcast, web. We appreciate that. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at
4 p.m.
We'll chat then.